think I'm gonna be everywhere on this video, but if it, we live in a community that is definitely after perfection. You know, no matter what, people are after perfection, and perfection in a way is performance to its best degree, and the kind of performance you only see in sports like the Mamba mentality by Kobe Bryant. But you guys have brought it into the limelight of life, to be honest. But life was never meant to be performed, it was literally meant to be experienced. When you perform, usually even becomes sad to some point, I guess. You know, at least not all aspects of life were meant to be experienced, others are meant to be performed. But most of life is just an experience, right? 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 But people usually lap out here, live action role playing, or what we call impression management, or method actors, and this ruins people, and turns them to become so self-absorbed and become narcissistic, and conversely, people turn to their survival mode. Ever since we were kids, we have always been competing for attention, in school, with our fellow students, at home, with our siblings, for our parents' attention, at work, with our colleagues, and even with the opposite gender, in your case or in my case, depending which gender you're in. We are all narcissists, some deeper on the spectrum than others. And we see this with our own self-absorbed nature. We literally like people to share our tastes, our opinions, so that it can project our goodness to be seen with others. And usually this happens in sometimes even with an unconsciously below our level of awareness. And even nowadays society has perfected the world for individualism. And get this about individualism, guys. Back in the tribal days, people used to live in communities, you know, and the greatest punishment when you go against the ways of the tribe or of the community was banishment, or what we call individualism in the modern day society. But it was never death. They believed that death was the easier way out. You know, you had to go out there and cater for yourself, just like in the modern day world. Back in the day when you found something, you had to share with the community. But nowadays, when you find something, it's only yours. You don't care about any other person. You just want it for yourself. And this is turning people into degenerates. You know, Nowadays, nobody even helps the homeless guy, a possibility, or even I'm even exempted to this, because get this, the reason why people usually think everyone is watching them, like they are the center of attention. So they tend to perform and avoid being sympathetic, and help those who can't help themselves. But people are usually indifferent to us, they're indifferent to our faith, and everybody has their own problems. And since there's so little of attention going around, what do? We turn to our self-absorbed nature, you know. But you can counteract this, You can counteract this. We literally possess a remarkable tool for proper social interaction. It's known as empathy. Empathy. Empathy is literally being absorbed into the other party. Being absorbed to the other person or the other people you interact with. Being able to read their moods and even feelings, because it's really hard to read people's thoughts. Don't get me wrong, but their feelings and moods, it's really easy. And but anyway, just like attention, there's so little of empathy going around out here also. And I think this is one of those reasons why people have mental issues and even turn out to become suicidal. I mean, I read in a psychological book, I think it's the 14, it's known as The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. You know, he in this book he says that when cultivated properly, empathy can turn you to become a psychic. It's like you're beyond the human senses. You know, we need to have empathy, guys. Cultivate it. You know, and get this. People might say that it starts with confidence. With confidence, but confidence is not something you are taught. but it's a skill that you acquire along the way. You need to put yourself into those uncomfortable positions where you can be confident and become normal to those circumstances, you know. I feel like I'm starting to touch everything or everywhere. I'm all over the place, but anyways, thanks for watching.